Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to today's Distance Learning Series and warm greetings to all. Ako po si Cecil Rojas mula sa External Affairs. Together with me are the members of the Grupong Tamang Alaga Academy and the Unilab Corporate IT as we bring you this webinar this Friday. Ang atin pong session ngayong umaga ay tatakbo hanggang 10:30. Para po makatipid tayo sa oras to save on time for questions that you may have, kindly use the chat box at the right side of your screen. At paumanhin po, we will only entertain comments and questions at the end. Without further delay po, may we call on? Do we have Attorney Joey Ochave? Okay. So we proceed with the introduction of our speaker this morning. It's an honor po to have her with us. Isang pinagpipitaga ng doktor ng medisina. Siya po ay isang excellent developmental at behavioral pediatrician with over 20 years of experience in the practice of developmental and behavioral pediatrics. A leader in developmental pediatrics in the Philippines. Siya po ang immediate past president ng Philippine Society for Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics, an organization of all developmental pediatricians in the country. Siya po ay isang graduate ng UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery and had her pediatric residency training sa Quezon City General Hospital. She completed her developmental and behavioral pediatrics fellowship sa UP-PGH. Siya po ay mentor ng future developmental and behavioral pediatricians in the Philippines sa National Children's Hospital. Siya rin po ang vice chair ng section. Isa siyang skilled lecturer and resource person tapped by different academic and media institutions. She has vast experience working with various organizations and staff management, positively impacting the lives of marginalized children with disabilities. Siya po ay 2020 Autism Advocate Awardee. Magandang umaga po sa iyo. Let us give a warm online welcome to Dr. Agnes Falcatello.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, how are you? Thank you, Cecil, for the introduction. And I would like also to extend my gratitude to Dr. Nancy Bermal, my roommate in San Juan de Dios, for this opportunity to speak to you about child development. So as a developmental pediatrician, I'm always happy to know that people are interested in child development. So today we will be discussing about the red flags for different. So did you know that 1 out of 6 children is at risk for a possible developmental disorder? So that's why it's very important for parents and people who are taking care of their children to know about the different milestones and the red flags. So developmental disorders are brain-based disorders. So these are congenital that could impact the language, the cognitive skills, the social skills of children. And example of that are autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, learning disorder, intellectual disorder, or a plain and simple speech delay. Okay, so the years of a child's life are very important for health and development. We can say that healthy development is ongoing in that particular child if his emotional, social, language, motor, and educational needs are met. So it's very important for everyone, not only for us doctors, but more so for parents or those who are taking care of children to know the normal patterns of development. Knowing whether the child is developing well or not is a must for everyone. So today we will be learning about the normal patterns of development. I will be also discussing the red flags and of course the importance of doing developmental surveillance and screening. So development refers to refinement of a child's function. It is a complex, dynamic process that proceeds in a predictable sequence. So from simple skills to complex functions. So for example, from rolling over to sitting down to walking and not the other way around. So development is a continuous process. So from conception to maturity. So all throughout our lifetime, we are actually developing. I like during this pandemic, I'm sure you've learned new skills, right? You became a baker, naging plantito-plantita kayo, di ba? Aside from being your corporate self, you turn into something else during the pandemic in order to cope. However, for children, development should happen during the first 6 years of life. So these are the critical years wherein you have to do your proper stimulation to children in order for them to maximize their potential. So the sequence of development is the same in all children, but the rate of development varies from child to child. So a child cannot would be able to walk if he's not sitting. So that's the sequence. But some children would walk early and some would talk late. So what is important for us is to determine, to know who are these children who are quote unquote delayed in terms of development compared to their peer group. So there are sensitive periods in brain development that we need to understand. And it refers to a limited time in development wherein the brain is highly receptive to a particular stimuli. So when you do stimulation, there would be synaptic connection in the brain forming that particular skill. So the sensitive period in development is from 0 to 6 years old. So if you want to teach, for example, you want to teach language or speech to that particular child, you have to stimulate him or her during the first 3 years of life. Kaya nga, di ba, when children would migrate, and ba yung mga Pinoy na pumunta ng US, pag bata pa sila, it's easy for them to acquire the English language with all the intonation and the slang. But for the parents who are already adult, nahihirapan na sila because of that particular window of development. Another important period in brain development is what we call as the critical period. So this is narrower. So the critical period in brain development is from 0 to 3 years old. So this is the reason why we need to really do the stimulation, or if you want to do the intervention, you have to start it as soon as possible. So if possible, you have to do that from 0 to 3 years of age in order for the brain to be receptive. So normal development is an interplay of nature and nurture. So it is no longer true that we are who we are purely because of our genes. So if you have children who are highly intelligent, you cannot no longer claim that that is because of your genes. So now the impact of environment, the impact of experiences, has a lasting effect on the child's development. So even before babies are born, through the earliest years, they are actually building connections in the brain. So these connections lay the foundation for success throughout their life. So how are these connections strengthened? So this is very important for parents and the audience. So babies learn by interacting with their caregiver. So the caregiver should actually respond and should be attentive to the needs of a child. So for example, this is what we call the serve and return framework. So for example, a baby would smile at you. Your response should be to smile back or to talk to that particular baby or to hug the baby. In doing that, you're stimulating the brain to make further synaptic connection in order for the brain to maximize the development. So pag medyo dead ma yung nag-aalaga sa bata, it could cause some problem. So you have to be responsive if you're the one taking care of your children. So developmental surveillance is how we track development. So it is a flexible, longitudinal, and continuous and cumulative process whereby healthcare professionals like us doctors identify children who might be at risk for developmental problems. So how do we do developmental surveillance? We do it by monitoring the milestones. So developmental milestones are skills such as taking a first step or smiling for the first time or saying the first word and waving bye-bye. So those with kids at home or our parent now, I'm sure you know about this. What is important is for you to record all these milestones so that you will be able to note if your child is developing at par with their peer group or not. So children develop at their own pace, so it's impossible sometimes to know when a child will learn a given skill. However, the developmental milestones give a general idea of the changes to expect as a child gets older. So there are 5 domains of development. The first is what we call the gross motor. So it pertains to the physical aspect, which requires movement of large muscles like sitting down, walking, running, that are necessary for the child to do everyday function. So the next is the fine motor. So fine motor is the eye and hand coordination. So like holding a cup, a scribbling, using a scissors. So those are fine motor skills. And the next, which is very, very important, is the language. So this is divided into two, the expressive or spoken language and the receptive or what the child can comprehend. So the receptive language equates well with IQ later in life. And the next is the personal and social skills. So these are skills like taking care of himself or what we call self-help skills and how the child relates not only to himself but to the other people around him and to the environment. And the last, we have cognitive skills. So this is the capacity of the child to learn concepts, to organize, and to do problem solving. So these are the different domains of development that you need to remember. So, okay, before we proceed, let us review your stock knowledge on child development. So you can answer in the chat box, okay? So I'm sure those with babies at home, this is easy peasy for you. So what do you think is the age of these twins? Any guess? Any intelligent guess? Okay. So the answer here is most of you answered, actually it's buried, A, B, and C. Okay, it's back. Okay, so the answer here is actually 3 to 4 months. Okay, why? Because at this time, the clue there is the good head control on prone. So pag nakadapa siya at 3 to 4 months, babies can actually lift their head. Okay, so they have better control during that time at 3 to 4 months. Okay. Okay, next. What about this baby? He's holding toys in both hands with good head control while sitting. What do you think is the age of this baby? O madami yung B and C. Okay. So actually the age of this baby is 12 months. Okay? So nasa range siya ng letter C, 12 to 14 months. The clue there is babies at 12 months can actually hold objects in both hands, and then they have good head control, and they can sit down without support, and most of the time at 12 months, they would be walking already independently. And you have to expect also the first word during this time. Okay. What about this one? What do you think is the age of this baby? Just by looking at her, what she's doing, you can actually more or less know if you know the normal child development. Okay, very good. Most answered letter C. Okay, you're correct. Okay, so at 18 to 20 months, babies can actually use their hands by holding a cup, drinking from it. They can also use a spoon, and some can actually scribble. So as you can see, as they grow older, the skills are becoming more sophisticated. Okay. Oh, what about this one? What do you think is the age of this girl? This one, our subject is the girl. Most answered C and B. Okay. So actually, the age of this girl is 36 months or 3 years old. So as you can see what she's doing right here, she's trying to copy the actions of adults. So she's dressing up. That's why during at 3 years old, you can see your children wearing your shoes, using your lipstick, because they're copying the actions of adults already. So they can do pretend play also, pretending that she's a princess. So they can do that as early as 3 years old. Okay, let's move on now to the different milestones per age group. So at 2 months, babies start to smile. So they can also briefly calm himself by bringing hands to mouth. So this is very important because this is the start of self-regulation, which is an executive function, which is highly important for us individuals to be successful in life. So as early as that, baby should learn how to self-regulate. And they are also starting cooing is sumuhuni as early as 2 months, okay? And they can turn their body towards the source of the sound. So as early as 2 months. So if you have babies not responding to sound or not turning to sound, you have to check for possible hearing problem. That's at 2 months. So at 4 months, babies are now very engaging. So they respond to affection and copies facial expressions like smiling or frowning, and they begin to bubble. So if you smile back, they would smile back at you. Okay, that's at 4 months, and you can hear bubbling sounds. Bubbling sounds are ta 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 da da da. Okay. At 6 months, the major milestones are having a good head control, like this baby here. Okay, so there's no more head bobbing. Pag kinalga mo, biglang mahuhulog yung ulo. So at 6 months, there should be good head control, and they can recognize their name as early as that. Why is responding to name very important? It is important because often than not, that is lost in children with autism. So as early as 6, they should know their name and they should respond to their name. Okay. So at this time also you will be hearing a more mature babbling and more consistent babbling sounds. Okay. Of course, our favorite age is 1 year old, where we celebrate grand birthdays. So at this time, most babies will be independently walking, and they can follow simple commands like give, get, or very easy to do. You can ask them to point, like where's the light or where's the airplane. So very easy. If you're going to do that and the baby is able to perform that particular command, you're actually checking the ability of the child to comprehend. So that's one. And the ability of the child to use pointing or gesture in responding to your commands. Okay, so at 12 months, you are also expecting the first word. But there are kids that would speak early. So, but at 12 months, at least that particular baby should have at least one word already. So, another huge milestone at 12 months or 1 year old is the ability of that particular baby to find hidden objects. So, what is the practical implication of that? It means that the baby is able to comprehend that objects are present even if he doesn't see it. So that is what we call object permanence, which is very important because that is the cornerstone of our intelligence. So if babies don't have object permanence, most likely he will have possible global developmental delay or worse, could have intellectual disability later in life. Okay, at 18 months, the vocabulary must be at least 10 or more words, clear words with meaning. So it shouldn't be random words heard from the TV or the YouTube or videos. And then he can follow with commands without gesture. Remember, during the 12 months or 1 year old, they can follow commands with gesture. But at 18 months, it should mature to following commands without gesture. So we will have also what we call proto-declarative pointing or pointing using the index finger to point to indicate his needs and his wants. Okay? So also babies at this age can point at least to one body part. So as they become more independent, at 2 years old or 24 months, they start to imitate the actions of other people. But when it comes to play, they still play parallel play or yung parang naglalaro siyang mag-isa together with other kids and the other kids are also playing. But he's not interacting yet with other kids. Okay, so it's what we call parallel play. So at this time, phrases should be heard like play tayo, gutom ako, or a word combination already should be heard. So at the end of 2 years, that particular baby should have at least 250 words. So that's at the end of 2 years. And they can point to pictures and build tower of 4 blocks. So at 3 years old, they can use tripod grip and can copy a circle. So they talk in sentences and has an idea of a friend. And make believe play, like pretending like doing a cooking or baking or dressing up, pretending that she's the particular character should happen at 3 years old. So that is also very important because make believe play is absent in children with autism. So at 3 years old, they can understand simple preposition like in, on, and under. Okay. So a 4 year old can tell a story and sing from memory. Usually pag three, four performers na yan during birthday parties, so they can perform. Okay. They talk about what they like and they prefer to play with other children rather than playing by herself or himself. And they know the simple rules of grammar. He, she, they can already identify their gender, and most can do rote counting. So at 5 years old, most children at this time are already in school. So the speech must be adult-like already. So they can tell a story, and they can write an alphabet, and then they can and then. So those are the major milestones that British. So nowadays, it is very easy to track developmental milestones. There are available apps that you can download for free. So it can make use of that as your guide. So when you do milestones tracking, you are actually doing developmental surveillance. So while you do your milestone tracking, you take note of the red flags. So what are these red flags? They are quick reference guide. It does not give you a diagnosis, but you will be alarmed or just a warning for you to possibly seek early consultation. So these are noteworthy clinical signs that can help identify children who are at risk for possible developmental disorders. So, for example, physical delay or physical developmental delay is one of the most common disorders that we see in our clinic, like cerebral palsy. So, for physical delay, it is very easy to note or very easy to observe because it's obvious. So, it is quick to detect. So if you have kids that are not rolling over, not walking, not running, at the same time as their peer group, that particular child would possibly have a physical developmental delay and would need an evaluation. So red flag, for example, this is a red flag if at 4 months, that particular baby cannot lift his head on pulling. Just like this one on the right side, you can see the headlock. Okay? On the left is the normal development, physical development at 4 months. Or at 4 months, that particular baby cannot hold a rattle and shake a rattle. So that is already a red flag. Another red flag, if at 6 months, the baby cannot support weight when sitting and has head lag or head bobbing during sitting, that is already a red flag. Or at 6 months old older, the baby is not using his or her hand to grab objects, to bring them to mouth, or to grasp object, or to hold object, that is already a red flag. So don't wait for that particular baby to reach 1 year old before you seek consult. Another red flag, if at 12 months or older has an unusual walk or gait, this is what we call a drunken gait, parang lasing lumakad, or waddling gait. So if that particular 1 year old is walking like this one, you need to do an evaluation. Or if at all, at 18 months, out 18-month baby cannot walk, definitely he would need a developmental evaluation. The ceiling age for walking is 18 months. So beyond that, if you have 19-month-old who are not walking, you have to refer them for developmental evaluation. Or if your child suddenly lost a skill, like he used to walk and now he is crawling, definitely that is a red flag for possible neurodegenerative disorder and would need an immediate evaluation. Okay, moving on to the language domain. So speech delay is one of the most common complaint in our clinic. So if at 9 months, the baby is not babbling, remember babbling sound is da 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 ta ta ta. So if you have babies at 9-month-old and you don't hear them babbling, that is a red flag. Okay? if at 15 months there's no single word, that is a red flag. If there's no consistent words at 18 months, that's a red flag. No word combination at by 24 months, that is a red flag. So if these are present in a child, that particular child should be evaluated for possible developmental problems. Or if you struggle understanding the speech of your 2-year-old kid, that is also a red flag. Or if at three strangers can understand the speech, because usually people at home can usually decipher even if it's a jargon or with articulation problem. Because you're familiar with the baby, you will be able to decipher. But if at three, strangers cannot comprehend the speech of your baby, that is already a red flag. Or if the particular 3-year-old is not showing any communication intent, that is a red flag. Stuttering beyond 5 is a red flag. Yung stuttering is yung before saying, like for example, you ask that particular 5-year-old, what did you eat for breakfast? Before answering, he would say, bacon. So that is stuttering. Beyond 5, that is no longer acceptable. Or if a kindergarten struggles in learning colors, number, shapes, or the letters of the alphabet, these are red flags for possible learning problem later in life. And of course, failure to respond normally, such as not responding when spoken to or not responding to any sound, you always have to check first the hearing of that particular child. And worse, if there's a sudden loss of speech, for example, at 1-year-old, she's already saying mama, dada, dede, then at 24 months or 2 years old, those were lost. So those are red flags. Okay? Any loss of speech or any loss of skills are considered red flags. Okay. And of course, as I mentioned early on, at 3, not speaking well, that is already a red flag. So don't wait for that particular child to reach 5 years old before bringing them for evaluation. Okay, let's go now to more specific red flags for different disorders. So, autism spectrum disorder is one of the most common developmental disorder nowadays. So, parents should be aware of the red flags, because if you do early intervention, that would be great for that particular child. So, those usually with at ASD do not respond to their name right away or consistently. So at 12 months, a child with typical development will turn her head when she hears her name. But for children with autism, usually they would not look at you. Okay, so deadma, kahit anong tawagin mo pa ng 10 beses, they would not respond to their name. So that is already a red flag for autism. Another red flag for autism. So a child with a simple speech impairment, or what we call expressive language disorder, will point or will use gesture to communicate their needs. However, for children with autism, they do not make any attempt to compensate by using gesture like pointing. That's why children with autism don't also point. What they usually do, they would use the hand of an adult, they would push it towards the object that they want instead of pointing to that particular object. Or sometimes they would just randomly say words heard from videos, from TV, from YouTubes. Okay. So at 24 months, a child with typical or normal development would bring a picture to show her mother and share her joy from that particular incident with her. But for children with autism, they do not have that particular skill. So they don't have what we call joint attention or shared attention. So they don't have what we call also a social referencing, that is looking at the facial expression of their moms or any caregiver when they interact with her or with him. So they don't have that. So if your child, like for example, if you're playing with your child and he's not minding you and he's not looking at you, so there's no eye contact, that is a red flag for possible autism. So the following are the absolute indications for evaluation. So if you observe these following red flags in a child, definitely you need to do a developmental evaluation. So if at 15 months there's no single word, that is a red flag. At 24 months without phrases, that is a red flag. And any loss of skills or speech, that is a red flag. And any repetitive behavior like lining up, hand flapping, spinning the wheels, or jumping, clapping, or covering his ears, what we call ear cupping. So those are repetitive behavior. So these are all red flags for autism, and you have to do developmental evaluation. Okay, moving on. Next to autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is another common neurodevelopmental disorder that persists up to adulthood. So oftentimes impacting the not only the personal life of that particular individual, but the work life of that particular individual with ADHD. So during the early years of life, these are the possible red flags for ADHD: frequent severe tantrums, heightened activity, yung di mapakali, takbo ng takbo, frequent aggressive behavior, so yung nananakit. So those are possible red flags for ADHD in early years. And to differentiate ADHD from autism, ADHD would usually have good language skills and they do not have repetitive behavior. Okay? So, siguro tatanungin niyo, Doktora, how would we distinguish regular tantrums from an alarming tantrum? So, yes, it is a fact that neurotypical or regular kids would go into tantrums, but usually the frequency should be less compared to those with possible red flags for developmental disorder. So a toddler would have tantrums for about 2 to 3 times a week and usually would last shorter than 15 minutes. It is a red flag, but if you have kids that has tantrums every day and would tantrums for about an hour, so nabulabog na lahat ng tao sa bahay nyo, pati neighbors nyo, that is already a red flag. Okay. What about aggressive behavior? So like slapping or hitting or pulling. So for children 1 to 3 years old, that could still happen, but it should be rare occurrence. But for children 3 years old and up, if that happens, hitting someone, that is already a red flag. Okay? Anytime if a particular baby or child would have self-injurious behavior, that could be a red flag, like head banging, slapping himself, biting himself. That is a red flag for possible disorder. So for older children who are those who are already in school, they have difficulty waiting for their turn. That's why they interrupt, and they have start difficulty starting and finishing tasks like homeworks or sit works. You will see them in school running around, roaming around, moving all the time. So tawagan namin dyan parang bisor, parang supervisor sila sa class. Okay, and they usually are very disorganized. See, so they lose everything, pencils, books, bags, and they have problem when it comes to listening skills. So they tend to forget things. So these are red flags for possible ADHD. Or sometimes it's also a red flag if they have good days and bad days when it comes to academic performance. So those are possible red flags for children, school-age children in school. So as I mentioned early on, 70% of ADHD patients will still have signs and symptoms until adulthood. So they are no longer hyperactive, but you can see the restlessness. They are disorganized, or they are extremely distractible, or they have poor listening skills. And most of them, they involve themselves in risky behavior like reckless driving, drinking, smoking, and worse, they use drugs. So another red flag in adults, like in the workplace, they have difficulty meeting deadlines. So always late going to work, or going to the meeting. So those are red flags for possible ADHD, or they're underperforming at work. Those are red flags for possible ADHD. O may na-diagnose na ba kayo sa coworker nyo? But seriously, if you have employees that are underperforming or difficulty delivering deadlines, or not performing at par, then probably you have to check for possible executive function deficits, or which is actually the underlying cause of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And sometimes these people also would have marital problems because of their impulsivity. So they are prone to angry outbursts, or sometimes worse, to physical abuse. So during the pandemic, actually the diagnosis for ADHD and other developmental disorders doubled. It could be because the scaffoldings provided by the schools and the workplace disappeared during the pandemic. So they were cooped up at home doing online school and work from home. So they become vulnerable to stress. Another developmental disorder that you have to watch out for is learning disability. Most of the time, LD is diagnosed late, and most children should be good readers at grade 2. So, but if there are students who are not reading or not performing well, probably you need to evaluate that particular child also for a possible learning problem or learning disability. So if at 5 to 9 years old, that particular child has trouble learning the connections between letters and sounds, remember that children learn how to read through phoneme, so yung letter sound. So if they will not be able to connect that, they will have a problem decoding. So mahihirapan silang bumasa because they're going to have problems in connecting the different sounds. Or sometimes they would substitute, for example, the word is God, they will read it backwards as dog. Or sometimes when they're writing, they have letter and number reversal. So beyond 7, that is no longer acceptable. So also a red flag if they have difficulty learning new concepts. Like for example, in math, they have difficulty doing addition or subtraction. That could be a red flag for possible learning disorder. Or they are poor in spelling, that is a red flag. Okay, so, or they have difficulty telling time during preschool years. that could be a red flag for possible learning disability later on in life. Okay. For us healthcare professionals, our responsibility is to ensure that the development is proceeding on track and optimally. So we need help from parents and from other caregivers. So it is best for everyone, uh, particularly the parents and the caregiver, to list down all the milestones so that we can track down whether that particular child is having red flags already so that we can do evaluation as early as possible. So we need to make sure that that particular child is not deviating from the normal or the typical development. So who needs developmental surveillance or who needs tracking of the milestones? So all typically developing children. So you have to do developmental surveillance practically in all children. More so in children who are at risk. So yung mga premature, those with seizure, those with siblings, with developmental disorders, those with genetic disorders, those who had meningitis, etc. But practically, you have to do developmental surveillance to all kids, to all children. So, because developmental disability is now the new morbidity, this is the reason why we need to do developmental surveillance. So, the current prevalence is 15% or 1:6. This is the current statistics in the US. So if we have 30 million Filipino children, that is roughly about 4.5 million children with developmental disabilities that we need to track. So as many as 23% of children in the US has behavioral and emotional disorders affecting their mental health. So with the advent of the pandemic and is increasing electronic screen syndrome or exposure to screens, these mental health concerns, according to CDC, actually doubled. So you can just imagine the enormous effect of this to the mental health of children and adolescents. So we need to be very vigilant in looking for these children who need help. So these are the latest prevalence rates. For ADHD, it's 1:10. So that's a lot. For ASD, as of 2020, is 1:54 children would have autism spectrum disorder. For intellectual disability, is 1:150. Intellectual disability is formerly known as mental retardation. And for cerebral palsy, it's 3 in 1,000 or 1 in 345 children. So that those are a lot of children that we need to help as early as possible. So the key recommendation on developmental surveillance and screening, according to American Academy of Pediatrics, is to perform developmental surveillance for the child at every healthcare supervision or visit. So that's why when you go to our clinic, most of the pediatrician would ask you, oh, lumalakad na ba yung anak mo? Ano nang nasasabing words? Those are actually tracking the milestones. This is also being promoted by the Philippine Pediatric Society and our society, the Philippine Society for Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics. So we are very active in helping our colleagues learn how to do developmental surveillance and screening. And actually right now, it is already included as a must for residents in training to know developmental surveillance and screening. So this is just an algorithm. In summary, it just says that we should do as a professional, we should do developmental surveillance and screening at age 9 months, 18 months, 24 or 30 months. And pediatricians should do a specific screening for autism at 18 months and 24 months. So when we do developmental surveillance and screening during those months, we will be able to determine as early as possible children who might have, for example, for at 9 months, who might have visual and hearing impairments, or who might have risk for cerebral palsy, for other neuromotor disorders. And at 18 months, we would be able to determine whether there's cerebral palsy or autism spectrum disorder or language disorder or global developmental delay as early as 18 months. So if we will be able to look for these children as early as 9, 18, and 30 months, then that would provide us a better prognosis for that particular children at risk. So as a summary, these are the most important red flags that you need to remember. So at birth, if there's hypotonia, it means yung malambot yung baby, that would need an evaluation. And if the baby failed the newborn screening and the newborn hearing screening, definitely that would need an evaluation right away. And if there are obvious physical deformities, you have to do intervene right away. So for the 6-month-old, these are the most important red flags. So at 6 months, if there's head lag, there's no bubbling, no social smile, definitely you have to do an evaluation. If at 12 months, no response to name, okay, no object permanence, no mama, no dada, or any other words, that would call for a developmental evaluation. If at 18 months, there's no phrases or word combination, the child is not walking, no single words, any loss of speech or skill, that should be evaluated. Okay, so if at 2 years old does not follow simple commands, or there's no ability to point or to gesture or to use word combination, that would entail developmental assessment or evaluation. If at 3 months there's no sentences, does not play with other kids, or does not know full name, these are red flags. So you need to do developmental evaluation. If at 4, that particular child is not playing cooperatively with another child or with adults, or cannot draw a person with at least 2 to 4 body parts, these are red flags, and that particular child would need developmental evaluation. So please remember all these red flags. So did you know that 8 out of 10 parent concerns are correct and accurate? So actually, the concerns of parents are very true 80% of the time. So if you feel like your worries aren't being taken seriously, don't be afraid to bring that up again to your pediatrician, to have her or him take another look at your child. So many signs of developmental disorders are actually aren't obvious. So as a parent, you have to trust your gut. So don't be afraid to consult a professional. Because early recognition of red flags would lead us to early evaluation and early intervention, and ultimately hopefully offer a better prognosis. I think this is the end. So learn the red flags and act early. So by doing that, we are giving hope for these children and their families to have better lives. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Agnes, for that very informative discussion po. I'm sure maraming napulot ang aking mga colleagues from all your sharing today. Naiwan sa amin, Doc, yung red flags, yung sinabi mo kanina, yung 5 domains of development. Ganon din po yung mga developmental milestones. I'm sure nag-take down yung aking mga kaopisina ng mga information. Maraming salamat po. We would also like to acknowledge the online presence of Attorney Joey Ochave, the president of Grupong Tamang Alaga.
Good morning.
Good morning po. Doc, magsimula na po tayo mag-accommodate ng ating mga tanong. Marami pong mga pumapasok na tanong sa atin. Unahin ko na, Doktora, ang mula kay Ms. Catherine. I heard that early exposure to gadgets can only delay speech or might even cause autism. How true is this daw po? And what is the right age for gadget exposure?
There are articles right now that would point to a possible speech delay if you expose a child early on in life, and the effect of screen is cumulative. That is true. There are evidence right now that could cause speech delay in children. But when it comes to autism, it's still controversial, okay, right now. So there's no evidence base right now. But could be possible autism-like symptoms like poor eye contact. It could happen if the particular child is engaged himself in gadgets all the time. So that could happen, but there's no definite evidence yet now that it causes autism. But the speech delay, yes. The recommendation, you have to follow also the AAP recommendation on gadget use. So practically, actually, for children below 2, dapat wala talaga. There's no gadget use. I'm sure most parents are guilty. Yes, guilty. So this is the time that we should actually rethink, because there are evidence now really that it has a negative effect on child development. So you replace gadgets with physical activity. So for older children, like 4 and up, kung hindi talaga maiwasan, you can limit it to about 30 minutes to about an hour a day. And it should be high quality. So not YouTube, please, not YouTube, because you cannot control YouTube. So, and children nowadays are very smart, so they can navigate YouTube. So, and you're not all the time there for your children, because you're also working. So, you have to limit really the exposure. Balik tayo dun sa lumang mga toys, mga ginagawa nating games. So, physical games are better than gadgets.
Yan, isa rin ako dyan sa guilty, Doc. Thank you for your answer. Ayan, ang speech delay daw po ba, sabi ni Sir Carl, ay may kahulugan or related daw po ba ito sa learning disability?
Ang speech delay ay, ang speech delay kasi po is symptom siya or senyales siya that something is wrong with the development of that particular child. So ang speech delay can be seen across the different continuum of yung parang iba-ibang disorder. So pwede siyang sign ng autism, pwede siyang sign ng learning disability, pwede siyang sign ng ADHD, pwede rin siyang sign ng plain and simple expressive language disorder. So it's a sign. So pwede siyang makita in all across disorders, not only for learning disability.
Another question, Doc, yung nagtanong po would like to remain anonymous. Are there recommended activities for children to exercise, gawin ng pag-ehersisyo siguro to, or help in their cognitive development? Ayan. May mga recommended activities daw po ba para sa mga bata na gawin, like exercises, para makatulong sa kanilang cognitive development?
Yeah. Exercise is good for everyone. So kahit bata, you can do simple exercises. Huwag nyo naman ipag-gym yung mga bata. So you can do lang biking, running, o kung wala sa mahirap sa bahay lang, nasa bahay lang kasi pandemic nga, pwedeng mga simple jumping jack, yung mga ganun lang, you can do that actually. So, or dancing. Dancing is a good exercise for children. So, you can make use of that. Regarding toys that would enhance cognitive ability, actually, it's not really toys. So, you don't need expensive toys. It's more on yung interaction mo with your child. So you have to be really receptive. You have to talk to your child. You have to respond to the needs of your child. And you have to really be an attentive parent to your children. Yung mga toys naman, kahit simple toys lang, you can make use of that. Hindi mo kailangan bumili ng Lego para you can actually like draw or colors lang, or kung meron kang simple puzzles, you can make use of that.
All right, salamat, Doc. Another question from Miss Marianne Remoquillo. How can we distinguish if the disorder is developmental or behavioral daw po? Is there an age cap for developmental consult before we are referred to another type of specialist?
Actually, there's no cap when it comes to age. As a developmental pediatrician, I want to see them as early as possible. So you have to remember the red flags. So if you see the red flags in your children, you can ask your pediatricians, Doc, I'm worried. I want to have peace of mind. Can you refer us to a developmental pediatrician? That would be good because we can, if ever lang, nagkaroon talaga siya ng developmental problem, disorder, we can do intervention, early intervention. Remember the sensitive period in the brain development and the critical period, yun po yung hinahabol natin. That we can do the intervention early as possible from 0 to 3. That would give that particular child chances of catching up. Rather, if we see them at 5, 6, 7, mahirap na po mag-catch up pa ganun. Nakikita mo. When do you say that it is just like playing ang simple tantrums? So yung sabi ko nga kanina, yung parang behavior lang niya, nagtatantrums lang, attention-getting behavior lang. For toddlers, pwede pa talaga yon. Pero kung you have children na older children, still with tantrums, that's no longer acceptable. So if the function of that particular child is already affected by his tantrums, or if your household is already they're affected also or deranged by the tantrums, by the behavior at that particular child, that is no longer quote-unquote typical behavior. So you have to seek consult already. So there's nothing wrong in seeking consult. It would give you a peace of mind. Kasi hindi naman po lahat ng pumupunta sa amin may problema. We can always say, oh, okay naman yung anak mo. And we can do this. So, okay lang po. Don't worry. Don't be afraid to seek professional help.
Yan, Doc. Salamat po. Ito pong sunod na tanong ay related dun sa huling sinabi mo na yung seeking professional help. Ang sabi po ni David Mendoza, what will be your advice to parents who are scared to have their children checked due to fear of being branded as OA? As a follow-up question daw po, sabi niya, are these timelines absolute? Is it possible that there are just children who are slow to pick up on the skills that are necessary?
Remember the statistics that 8 of 10 parents, yung parental concern, 80% of the time you are correct actually. That's why we're telling our colleagues, our co-pediatrician, do not ignore the concern of mothers or parents or fathers regarding their child's behavior, because most of the time they are correct. So we do not brand our parents. We actually appreciate them for coming to us early. So wag po kayong magilty na parang OA ka. Your guide is the red flags, yung milestones. The one with CDs is very practical. You can make use of that. There's a range of ages. Like sa walking, for example, yung walking. Dapat po nagwo-walk ng ang kids usually by 9 months, at the most 18 months. Ang average is 12 months. So, if you have kids who are not walking beyond 18 months, ay hindi po yan baka delayed lang. Delayed talaga yon. So you have to do an evaluation already. So you make use of that milestones and the red flags para you would know when to worry and when not to worry. Kasi there are children nga naman talaga na who would talk late and who would walk late, but it should be within that range. So don't feel secure na baka, ay kasi naman ako dati, sabi ng mami ko, late ako magsalita. So yung anak ko, 3 years old na, hindi pa rin nagsasalita, baka by 4 magsasalita na siya. No, that is not true. So if you see that, remember the red flags na at 18 months, walang masyadong words. At 2 years old, walang phrases. Huwag mo nang pabuti ng 3 years old at mag-antay ka ng sentences. You have to already seek help.
Thank you, Doc. Meron din sigurong fear yung ibang parents, Doc, kasi meron ngang stigma, di ba? Yung parang...
Yeah, nowadays actually, our society is more embracing when it comes to developmental disorder. So don't be afraid. Although it is normal for parents to be worried of that, that's your right, of course. But when you do that, kasi parang you're depriving your child of early intervention program, which what we are advocating. Kasi pag hindi natin nagawa during the first 3 years of life, that particular child would have difficulty na catching up. So when it comes to labeling, it's your right not to tell everyone if your child has autism. It's your right not to tell everyone that your child has autism. So ano mo yon. But minsan, yung sabi naman on the other side of the spectrum, sabi naman ng ibang parents, it is easier for them to say, like, for example, nagtantrum yung bata in the mall. Sasabihin lang na pagtitinginan sila ng mga tao, they would just tell them, I'm sorry because my child has autism. Naintindihan na sila ng tao. If di nila alam na may autism, parang i-blame pa yung parents that you're not disciplining your child. Yun yung mga dilemma actually ng parents.
Salamat, Doc. Before we call on si Doc Nancy po, Doc, meron pa tayong isang tanong, anonymous question again po. Hi, Doktora, what if you've noticed these red signals late na raw po, late already, say in their teenage years na daw, Doktora? Pwede pa raw pang manage yung ganon?
Yung problem, late tayo. Yes, of course, we can do something about it. Remember that, as I mentioned early on, we are developing throughout our lifetime. But yung catchphrase kasi doon is yung peak development of children is during the first 6 years. But we can still do something about it. But maybe it would be more difficult na for them to catch up compared if they were seen early on.
Alright po, Doktora. Tawagan naman po natin, of course, ang ating GTA Medical Director, si Doc Nancy. Magandang umaga, Doc Nancy.
Yes, thank you so much, Cecil. Nag-request ako Agnes. Can I say a few words before we end this webinar? So, in behalf of the GTA, hindi lang medical and IT, in behalf of all of us, Agnes, thank you so much for giving us your time to discuss this very important topic on the red flags, no? So kanina may question na about teenagers, kung delayed na ba. Baka I can share a little. Kaya may special bond kami ni Dr. Agnes, aside from being roommates in San Juan de Dios. he diagnosed my eldest son at 22 ba yun, Agnes, no? Na ADD. Imagine, I'm not sure kung nakikinig si Attorney Joey. Biglang, sir, magre-resign na po ako. Kasi I was just in the first year of my work here in Unilab, no? Pero, yun lang, just to give hope, kahit late diagnosis, no, it really provides value kasi, you know, as a family, we got to understand him, no, Doc Agnes. So, na pag may tantrum, so, sige, baka talagang this is really part of his, yung kanyang challenges. So, kahit late, I think meron pa ring value, no? Kasi sabi nga Dr. Agnes, we continue to develop, no? Hindi naman natatapos yung development natin when we graduate in college. So, and yun, no? So if that can provide some hope, no, for any one of us parents or may kapatid tayo, may kamag-anak tayo who's also, you know, na napipick up natin na may problema. So it's better to consult a professional, no? Si Doc Agnes, while she is a pediatric, a developmental specialist, pwede pa rin yan. So Agnes, maraming salamat kasi with the questions and the quality of questions, no? Hindi ko nga, sabi ko, wow, very engaging talaga tong lecture na to. Thank you so much. Pero Agnes, meron pa ako isang question. Kasi yung fact here in the Philippines, more than 80% of our children, no, they go to the health center during the first year of life for routine vaccination. So may nakikita ba kayo na impact na there can be some delays in the diagnosis? Kasi, di ba, pag well baby nga, tatanungin lang may ubot sipon ka ba? O pag wala, doon ka na, babakunahan ka na ng nurse or midwife. Minsan hindi na sila natitignan ng doctor, no? Whether a pediatrician or a family med or general doctor. So nakikita niyo ba to na isang problema? And meron bang ginagawa yung society, no, to address this?
That's very true, Nancy. But actually, in the LGUs, it shouldn't be a problem because we have the ECCD program, the early, that is under LGU. So all children practically in one barangay should undergo ECCD screening.
Okay.
So they have this unit, but it's not under kasi MHO. It's a separate unit in the LGU. So that should be utilized by all the barangays actually. But in answering that, in terms of sa health centers, they should refer also. Personally kasi ako, I want sana yung my advocacy kasi is really to go down to the roots, to the barangay health workers. I wanted to train them, do screening actually. That's my advocacy since I was a president of our society, but pandemic happened. So I was not able to implement that, but hopefully in the future. Kasi I wanted to target the barangay health workers because they're the one handling actually the children in the community. So we have PEDS, it's a checklist for for developmental disorders, which is actually very easy for parents to do. It's an interview form and for barangay health workers to administer. So hopefully in the future, we will be able to implement that in cooperation with different LGUs, Nancy.
Yeah. So at least merong pwedeng magawa, no, to address yung early pick-up or early diagnosis of children with developmental problems. Yeah. So thank you again, Dr. Agnes Falcotelo, and Cecil, thank you so much also. So back to you.
Salamat, Doc Nancy. Gusto ko rin po sanang mag-provide ng sense of hope to other parents kasi ako po meron ding 8-year-old na with autism spectrum. Na-diagnose po siya late So, nagkaroon kami ng period na parang ang hirap ma-accept, pero sa
Yeah.
umpisa lang pala. Sa umpisa lang pala, once you embrace it fully, learn to know more about it, kayo talaga po ang tutulong sa mga anak ninyo to para maka-achieve ng development.
That's very true.
Yan, maraming salamat po. Ayan. With that, Doc Nancy, Doc Agnes, we will officially end na po ang ating webinar for today. Magpapasalamat po kami. Very enriching po yung learning session na ibinigay ni Dr. Agnes sa atin ngayon, Falcatello, ngayong araw na ito. We would like to thank everyone for taking time and attending our webinar for today. On behalf of Attorney Joya Chavez, Doc Nancy Bermal, the GTA Academy, and the Unilab Corporate IT, we wish you a nice day. Bye, everyone.